So over this past couple weeks, Micro Four Thirds has had their chance in the spotlight. They sent two little hobbits as representatives for their guild, and they released the Olympus OM1 and the Panasonic GH6. So that's the fight, little hobbits throwing punches. They scuffed one of my shirts. Will I buy any of their stuff? It's unlikely. That paves the way to Fuji. What will they do in response? Will the XH2 destruct the castles that the hobbits of Micro Four Thirds land have built? Wow.
All I want is the perfect camera. All I want is the perfect camera.
So some sad news. My friend who lent me his Fuji X-T4 for such a long time, it became mine. He then took it back for some reason without paying me. I no longer have it. It's disappointing. So I'm Fuji-less, and it's a sad day. I'm borrowing his G9 and the 100-400, but that lens, as we've discussed, is a disappointment. It's like the culmination of human stupidity put into one lens. It's like, how stiff and unusable can we make this? Especially 250-400. And do you want this super hard to turn so you can't do it with one finger and you cut your finger? Then you just trap sharks. I am actually going to take this out with the Olympus and just see what that's like in comparison to what I think the Olympus 100-400 might be like. Similar weight, Olympus will be a little heavier, but it should give me an idea, roughly. So it's been an exciting month so far. I mean, we had the two Micro Four Thirds announcements. It was really, like, it's been a long time since Panasonic has released anything. Really, the GH5 was their last, like, actual release back in, 2012? And then Olympus, really, it was the EM1 Mark II that was the same basic thing as the 3. It's been many years since we've had anything, and I was expecting, or at least hoping, that they would leapfrog what the full frame manufacturers have done. The R5, everybody's doing 4K 120p. So Olympus did not catch up. They caught up to the Fuji X-T4 barely, and they were breathing really hard. They barely made it. They needed 3 sandwiches to recover. Panasonic caught up, leapfrogged in some areas. Panasonic now has the slowest slow motion, 300 frames per second. So like, they've done something at least. They do have 4K 120p like the competition does with terrible autofocus, but you could see it happening in slow motion and laugh at it. Could be a good comedy routine. So well done, Panasonic. Pat on the back, Olympus. Better luck next time. We believe in you, kind of. Nice colors though. Good job. So let us discuss the XH2 as we witness our last attempt at glory with the X-T4 and the 70-300. We got some woodpecker footage. I saw one. I got amazing hawk footage coming in this video, best ever on this channel. So proud. So this first woodpecker, I was really far away, but I get closer and closer. It was actually kind of funny. As I'm getting closer, I'm like, this is so magical. I hear something in the background, and then the bird flies away. I'm like, I scorn in this direction a couple with snowshoes on, giant paddles, walking, trekking with their dog, scaring all the wildlife away. There's 1 inch of snow. What are you doing? Just put on regular shoes and sneak around like a ninja, you dick. And just a little side note, the last episode I did, I filmed this and Animal Detect was on for some reason. Thank you, Sony. Even though it doesn't work in video, you keep it on when I switch the mode. I love that. So everything, as soon as I moved my hand, it would latch on. Sony autofocus, you piece of shit. So now that I'm into wildlife video, I just want to upgrade for no reason. I already have like the best stuff ever, but I'm constantly on the lookout, just like I was when I was vlogging. I was like, oh, what could I get next? It's like, who cares? You have a GoPro 10, nobody cares about this. Just go out and film something, you donkey. Make me laugh, you monkey. Do your job, monkey. All I want is cleaner looking slow-mo and more reach, pretty much. And could I get into the Panasonic system? Well, that lens is a big letdown. And so like, the brain is spinning. And I'm thinking, could I use the Olympus 100-400 with this new Panasonic GH6? Amazing stabe, would that be enough without the lens stabe? That might be a good combo. And then we get 300 frames per second. 10 bits. I could dig that. Olympus OM1, kind of not super thrilled about their 240p single autofocus, 8 bits, huge crop. You're almost a 1-inch sensor now. Lots of reach. I don't know, do you need that? I'm very happy with my heavy-ass Sony system. When I'm out in the wild, it's really annoying when I come back and I forget to turn off the animal detect autofocus, and then my videos in here are ruined. I would love a dedicated wildlife cam setup that I just grab and go, and then I get really used to it. Because right now I'm trying all these different systems. Some are zooming to the right. Why isn't this just a standard agreed upon thing? Zoom to the right, focus to the left as long, like, make it one thing. Whereas every other lens, Olympus zooms to the left. I'm like, oh, every time. My brain can't handle these choices. Do you have any idea how annoying it is to get a bird and then it's flying? I got this duck footage the other day, and it's like, I nailed focus, and then the duck started flying, and then I'm panning, and like, as it's flying, it's getting closer to me. It's coming out of focus. You think I would ever remember which way to turn it and how fast to turn it to get it? Like, there's no way. One day I will get it. I will get some footage where we're just like tracking it and I'm actually in focus doing it. You can only do that if you're so used to one system that it's like the back of your hand. You know it so well, you're just like, yes. Speaking of the back of my hand, if you were wondering what that band-aid was on the last video, I made a vlog on my Vegetable Police channel and I took it hard on the ass. I slipped on solid ice. I had this glass juice bottle in my backpack that landed on my tailbone. This arm smashed against the ice and my elbow too. It was a hard fall. Thankfully I got it on tape. Ow! Ow! Oh, that hurt so much. So go watch that video if you want to see how I incorporate wildlife footage into a regular style vlog. It was an interesting video. I'm proud of it. So as I sit here with gas wondering which direction to go, Panasonic GH6, I find it hard. Like, it would be about $5,500 to get the GH6, a used Leica 50 to 200, since the 100 to 400 is unusable, a 2x teleconverter, and nothing else. I didn't even remember the SFX Express card, that's what those are called, for like $400. Oh, that puts me over $6,000. I just wonder what the sweet spot is for aperture, because slow-mo requires way more light, and that makes me nervous. With that setup, it would be a Tony 8 light. Tony 16 tonnes if it was a foot. That hurts. But like, would that be good? It could be good in really good light. That Sony with the 2x teleconverters, Tony 11, that actually brings my shutter speed into normal territory. It's like a perfect sweet spot until it gets a little cloudy, then noise happens. Unless I took control and jumped up to that second ISO, 12,800, but that's too much to think about. With wildlife, you have like 3 seconds to make a decision. You see a bird, oh my god, zooming, framing, focusing, nailed it. If I have to add exposure to that mix, that cake gonna be sour. So I don't know how Panasonic GH6 is gonna handle a Tony 8 out there in the real life with slow motion footage. I don't know how those ISOs are gonna talk to each other. A lot of noise. Makes me nervous. Tiny sensor, giant camera, heavier than any full frame camera I've ever known. And then you have Olympus. Are they really worth investing into? Because what we see, they're at Fuji 2019 technology as their wow. Like, they were wowed by it. It's the same thing. It's been done already in a bigger sensor. That hurts. Which is why our hope now lies in the Fuji XH2, which is what this video is about. I haven't even mentioned it, I don't think, much, but we have points. I think Fuji is going to do something incredible. Already, their Fuji XT4, I know stuff, is better than anything I've ever tried. The xtrans sensor has something magical about it, and to think that they have a newly designed stacked high megapixel xtrans sensor on the way, I can't even imagine it. I cannot imagine that in my life. You see that hawk? I spotted it. I couldn't believe how close it was. It was like low to the ground. I might have been able to jump up and slap it high five. It was that close. And I just got some shots, and then I slowly crept towards it until we got Beauty engaged. He was very aware of me. We were looking at each other. He's like, okay, you're cool. You come on close. Take a look at the gander at the glory. I messed up that sentence. Sorry for not doing you justice, Hawk. I'm a moron, a bumbling idiot. I see why you flew away from me. I caught it on film though. Oh yes, I did. And in my experience, this may not be a technical spec on paper, but Fuji draws attention of the wild kingdom, and animals perform for the Fuji where they will not for other systems, in my experience. It's not in the spec sheet, but every time I go out there, I'm getting some shots with the Olympus. Oh, that looks cool. Then I bring out the Fuji, and the animal's just like, look at me. I touch that. And it does something spectacular. So as I'm out there with my Sony A7S III with 12 tiny megapixels, I'm thinking like, this sucks. It's like not very sharp. This is a bullshit camera. There's not a lot of features designed for wildlife. I can't help but think higher megapixels has advantages for wildlife, first discovered right now with all of us. It helps. So it's like Fuji with like a 45 megapixel xtrans stacked faster. Are we doing 480 frames per second? Maybe 360 at least? Beating the Penny Boy? 8K 60p in editable format? 4K 120p for sure. Maybe 4K 180p could happen. Why wouldn't it? Autofocus, animal detect that actually works, and then manual focus override, side rant. How come all cameras don't have just autofocus, boom, as soon as I touch this, let me do that? Why do I have to hit a button? Why do I have to flip a switch? I think only Canon does that. Is that true? You're just autofocusing, and then as soon as you touch that, you're in manual focus. And then how do you get out of that mode? That's another question for another day. I think it's probably a tap back to autofocus. Manual focus override. That's how it should work. This doesn't do it. None of my cameras do it. Sony, nope. I'm getting used to Sony where autofocusing and then lock it with a button and then a manual focusing, but it doesn't show up in the viewfinder. It's just manual focus. There's nothing there other than the peaking to let you know, and sometimes that doesn't show up very well. Why? It's tiny little details that make all the difference in your shot and enjoying the camera. It's like, I don't understand it. On the LCD screen, it clearly says MF, and there's another little tracking box that changes. And I can see it. CAF, MF. And then viewfinder, it's all gone. And you can't change it. I'll change your diapers. So picture the Fuji. I hear they're going all in on wildlife. We have a potential lens on the horizon, 150 to 600. I have a feeling though, it's going to be at least as big as that Sony 200 to 600. We don't know the toniatures. We know nothing about it. But that's a 900 mil equiv. If there's a crop in slow-mo, over 1,000 mils. Hopefully there's not though. I want all the quality now. I'll crop on my own time. I'll crop in ways that you haven't even discovered yet. Teleconverters. Maybe one of those cheap lenses on the front too, a little filter. Huh? No? I want to see that lens. How big is it? Because I'm noticing when you have a same exact format across full frame, APS-C, it doesn't matter. If the numbers are the same, the lens size is going to be roughly the same. My G Master 100 to 400, Tony 4.5 to 5.6. That's the exact Fuji lens, 100 to 400, same toniatures, same size, 20 grams less for the Fuji. And you're all lying to me, by the way, with the weights. My Sony was 1390 grams or something. I get it home with the lens hood, 1500 grams. Why aren't we attaching that and telling me the weight, you dicks? That's in use weight. That's what I need. So the Fuji says, oh, 1375 or whatever, probably 1500 with the hood. Your mom's from the hood. That's right. That's where I met her. So as we get closer and closer to this hawk, the hawk suggests that I have patience and just wait. Wait for the Fuji XH2. Don't make any rash decisions. Right now I'm debating GH6 and the Leica lens. Just buy the 100 to 400 for the Olympus. If I love that, then OM1, boom. Or Fuji X-T4 with the 100 to 400, will I love that? All three of those are valid, but wait till the Fuji XH2 comes. It might be blowing us away, or the X-T5, whatever they're gonna call it. We know there's two of them. I don't know what the separations are. Hopefully it's wildlife-centric video for one of them. Animal eye detect is in there. In slow motion, in every mode. Don't handicap that shit. Fuji Ninjas. I saw one of them. Oh, I'm so afraid. Just don't move. You'll be fine. Why? So to recap my hopes, Fuji XH2, it's doing 4K 180p, HD in 480p, no crops. Potential crops if you have to, I don't mind it. Let me crop in addition to those if I feel like it. Animal eye detect autofocus, a flip up screen, a tilting viewfinder. It's not always easy, especially straight up. That's not easy business. And then your 150 to 600 lens, just somehow make it lighter than the Sony a little bit. Even though you have 50 mil extra reach on the wide, unnecessary, in my opinion. Actually, with the crop, that makes sense. I get it. Continue on with whatever you're doing. Toniature is not super important. Just keep it somewhat respectable. Let me manual focus override. Listen to us. New film simulations that work with F-Log first. And then you have LUTs that add all your film sims. Keep your photo to video switch, all settings completely separate, and allow me custom modes that work in each of those. So custom 1 to 4, but then when I switch to photo mode, it's different 1 to 4 settings. So I have 8 separate settings, 4 for video, 4 for photos. I'll never miss a shot. And now for the glory. I was waiting. This hawk, I'm super close, and I'm like, you're gonna fly off one day, and I'm gonna be there to wish you well. So I'm waiting, and then I see his desire to hunt starts kicking in, so I zoom out a bit. We got a shot. Not a ton of it was in focus, but some of it was in the beginning. Then he flew behind a lot of trees and branches, but I predicted where he would move next, and I followed his journey, and he flew up to his wife, and I was like, well, hello to you. So I've seen now a male and a female wife arguing about who has to do laundry. Caught that on tape in 4K 60p, and then I switched to slow motion to see what the difference was, and if they would do something magical together. They didn't, but they were doing stuff, and yes, it is much worse quality. So it's nice to have that 4K 60p, and then switching to super slow-mo for something dramatic. Please, Fuji, just make that easier to switch. Don't bring me into a menu system. Right now, custom mode takes you to the menu. Do you want slow motion? Why do you think I pressed the button? Get into slow-mo right now. Now. Slow-mo's on. Or the custom mode. Boom. C2. C2 for twice as slow. I'm going to go after you buy it. Camera Conspiracies t-shirt. Or a Fuji Assassin shirt. Wow. Those are available? That's cool. You subscribing? That's the report illegal content to YouTube button you pressed. For all I've done for you.